everyone, welcome to Simply Jan Homestead. Today I am going through my canning rings, and I have noticed that there's quite a few of them that have rusted. See that? Now's the time to do your inventory. Check your rings. Check your lids and make sure they're in good shape, because springtime's coming, y'all, and canning season's gonna be back. You know, if you ever stopped, it's coming back. So I have these. My friend made me this awesome like string with a carabiner on it, and I keep my rings on it, but it appears as if I've run out of room. There's all my rings. I've noticed the gold ones don't rust as bad. I only had one. And it's really bizarre that they rusted like this, because I totally dry out my rings, and you know, but it is what it is. I'm also going through all my container jars that I use for herbs and spices, and you know, you don't want to throw them away. And if you have any of these with the shakers on them, these I got a set of 8, and they go on my little bottles that I use for salt and pepper and other herbs that I have sitting on my counter. But I'm going through these and just doing some organizing under my canning shelf, because this is where I keep my used jars and all my canning stuff. So just organizing today, it looks like. Yeah. So the other project I'm working on today is sauerkraut. We're about to run out of our sauerkraut, and we love sauerkraut. So I've washed off this head of cabbage, and I'm gonna take the core out. Everyone's got a different way of doing it. I'm just gonna cut it out, and you can save the outer leaves. I'm gonna make a box. Oops, I just cut it. I'm gonna make a box, and you can save the outer leaves when you're making sauerkraut. I'm fermenting this, and you can actually use the leaf to hold the kraut mixture under the water. I have the weights, so I'll be using those weights and the burpers. And so I'm gonna get this cut up, and we'll be back. So I'm cutting this into smaller pieces. It doesn't have to be super small, but like that's too big for us. I mean, if you like it that big, it's up to you. There's really no rules. And you probably know this, but sauerkraut is very healthy, fermented sauerkraut, for your gut health. It's got so many benefits. And you know, my friend used to say, oh, we have it with our eggs. And I'm like, oh, you know, that's disgusting. And then one day I tried it with my eggs, because, you know, I don't just like to be that person that goes, ew, and has never tried it. So I tried it, and oh my gosh, y'all, it was so good. I mean, who would think? Eggs and sauerkraut, but it was so good together. So, you know, hey, don't put something down until you try it, right? If you don't like it, then that's your choice, that's your taste. But it really was so good, and it's just so healthy for you, and so great for your body. The other thing I want to show you is you can get these caps. I have the one with the handle on it. I find those are a lot easier to get out of the jar. You can get these in a kit with the fermenting nipples all together. This side is for wide mouth. This side is for regular. So when you're packing it down, you'll have one for each size jar. One side you could use the big one for the wide mouth and the little one for the regular size jar, regular mouth. The other thing, when you're making sauerkraut, you don't add water to it. So we have real sea salt here that we ordered. And what I do is I start with 3 tablespoons. And then I just mash it. You're gonna use this. I use the big end. And you're just gonna mash it, mash it, mash it. And it'll create its own juice as the salt gets in there and releases the juice from the cabbage. So, I love doing this. It takes about a week. You really just have to taste it, and then when it hits that flavor that you want, then you're gonna take it, take the nipple and the weight off and put a cap on it. I like to use the plastic caps and put a cap on it and put it in the fridge. And you will have that last so long. I mean, we've had it last up to a year and it was fantastic. This is when we first started eating it and we didn't eat as much, but yeah, it's time to get some more in the fridge. And so I'm going to put the rest of this in this bowl. I got this wonderful huge bowl from the Amish store, and I use it for so many things. And especially, you know, with something like this, it comes in handy to have. So make sure, you know, your countertop's clean, because like mine, I made a mess on the countertop, and you want to make sure it's clean. So we're gonna get the salt in here, and then we will start. And this is coarse salt. So 2, that was a pretty big, I'm gonna go 3.5 because that was a big head of cabbage that I cut up. Usually I don't buy the cabbage that big. And so what you do is, well, I like to take my hands at first and get it, you know, get it mixed up. Okay, just wanted to show you when it's starting to break down. It'll look like this. And you should start to see some juice. See that down there? That's your brine. So every day, you'll start seeing bubbles come up through here as it starts to ferment. And every day I will come and just unscrew it. Even though I have the nipple on, I'm gonna come unscrew it. If you don't have the nipples, just unscrew it a little bit and tighten it, just barely tighten it back up. Now, the nipples are supposed to be so you don't have to burp it. So if you don't need to, if it's releasing it, what I do is I'll come along and I'll just squeeze the tip of the nipple and make sure the sodium hasn't built up in there and it's still good to go. So that's it. That's how you do fermented sauerkraut. I hope you give it a try. Y'all be blessed and love well. Bye now. Okay. Game plan change. I decided to dump it all back into the bowl. I want to tell you on these weights, there's 2 different sizes, wide mouth and regular mouth. And the first ones I had out were for wide mouth. So I dumped it back in because I wanted it to be consistent with the brine. And I bet I put about not even an 1/8 of a cup of water from the well into the brine, because I just wasn't happy about how it looked. And in my experience, you know, it's okay to admit you made a mistake. So here's me admitting I made a mistake. So I'm taking that out, and I'm not going to pack this down super heavy. I'm just going to pack it a little bit. And then I'll get a spoon, and I will get the brine in here. So I might actually get more than I did before, because I felt like I had it packed too tightly. And we want that brine to be able to circulate up through the jar, right? That's the goal. So it can ferment the whole mixture. All right, so I'm gonna get this in the jar. We'll see what I end up getting after I pour the brine in. The other thing I decided to do is I'm not using the nipples. So I've got my jars filled. It looks beautiful. I'm gonna put a plastic cap on it. Just tighten it. Clean those lids off. I got 1 quart and 1 pint of sauerkraut. Oh, I forgot to put the weights on. See? That's real TV, folks, right there. All right, so the weight is on. Gotta have the weight on, because you don't want this floating up. We're just gonna drop it in there. And don't worry if you see a couple pieces. Oh, that's perfect on top. Don't worry about it. So every day, we're gonna come in here and we're gonna unscrew the cap just a little bit. Let it burp. You'll hear a little gas come out, like burping a baby. You'll see the bubbles fermenting. That's how you know it's working. Okay, now I'm done. Y'all be blessed and love all. Bye now.